Welcome everyone. Tonight we're diving into the ultimate Disney debate. So which Walt Disney World park has the best lineup in 2025? From classic dark rides to epic thrills, we're putting all four parks head to head. So get ready to rank your favourites with us. Let us know in the chat which park wins it for you. Welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle live.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
go. Hello everybody. This is a strange thing. I was expecting a lot more people are on the screen tonight, and there's only a couple of us. Maybe everyone's down the beach enjoying the sunshine. I know it's felt like a Florida day outside.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, though, Ben, is I'm at that time of year here that it feels like mid-afternoon, and you know for all them shows that we did all the way through the winter, and we get to 8:30 on a Wednesday, and it's cold and the heating's on, and it's pitch black outside, so the blinds shut. And actually tonight, I've actually had to just change the blinds to just try and take some of the glare out of the window and things like that. And it's just like, it's that lovely time of year.
Yeah.
I think last night it was nearly 10:30 by the time it actually got dark. And
I like this sort of time of year when
I love it.
June. It's the longest day is just around the corner.
Yeah.
And you just you wake up early in the morning, it's bright, and it's like 7, 8, 9, 10 in the evening, and it's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, if only it could be like this all the year through. That's my only issue. I think I was actually typing part of the trip report because I'm nearly getting to the end of it. It's just like it's
just in time for your next one.
Exactly, yeah, in true to traditional way, and it was I was recalling even late in the holiday. Now, normally, when you get to Florida and you can get up early because. No matter what, you get up early because of the time difference and stuff like that. Right? I can deal with that. But normally, by the time you get later on into the holiday, you get adjusted to it, and like it or not, you kind of adjust back to, starting a little bit later, etc. Last year, it got to, I think I'm on day 19, and I was still talking about the excitement of having to get up. And I was actually waking up before 7 a.m. to get a Guardians boarding group. Right? If you ask me to get up before 7 a.m. at home, I'll have about 7 alarms set, and I'll be as grumpy as anything.
You hit snooze on every single one.
Exactly. Exactly. And yet, and looking back on it, it was a case that there I was lying in bed, and I didn't want to wake everyone else up because they were all we'd had a late night the night before, and I was there, and I'm just like, come on, wake up. Because actually I want to get into the parks, and I want to just go and have fun. And it's what sets apart a holiday when you go to Orlando against probably anything else in life. Certainly it sets it against going to work. I must admit that
definitely
that's the one I probably have biggest issue with.
I love the beginning of a trip that it's like you wake up 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m.
Yeah,
but you somehow push as much as you can far through the day, and when to the end of the trip it's like, I'll do fireworks every night because it's like I can stay up till that because you've adjusted. And then you come back and then we're going back to work and jet lag hits, just as that little reminder you've been out of the time zone for.
It's just brilliant, though. It is such an absolute feeling, and no, I've not got a countdown. I've not actually looked at the countdown.
You're not. It's not. No, you're not counting it down.
I'm not counting, and that's that's something we've always done previously, and I think purely because the kids aren't coming. We're not trying to rub it in their faces too much. Normally it's all around the house, and it's like, oh, only so many days till Disney, and it's just like, okay, but we'll play a bit quiet.
We're going on holiday. You just
we just keep you out there, keep you out the loop.
It doesn't help with doing the show on a Wednesday that we fly out on a Wednesday.
Oh wow!
So every show we do it's one show closer to us going away.
One step closer to home. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. That's yeah. That should be. Yeah, there's a song about that. I might share it. I'll share it with you. It's a good song.
I think we should head straight to the news. There's quite a few things to discuss, I think, tonight.
Before we do, Ben, can I just welcome in B, who's in the chat, and just said first live stream. And actually, this is so nice, and I really like the fact that people are joining us in the chat for the very first time. There are a few other people there who are there every single week, but I also know there's lots of people finding us for the first time. I keep saying this. It seems really weird after 6 years that people are actually finding either the podcast, certainly the junior podcast, which came out at the weekend.
I listened earlier today, and it just made me think, like, I need to know more about Flamingo Crossings, and it was their experience.
Oh, it's lovely, but it's I think I said it last week. There's such a warmth in how they're talking about their college program, and I felt it. I actually, when I've gone back and listened again, I actually feel there's like a growing pride within both Josh, Morgan, Naya, of not just achieving what they did, but actually coming through the other side and actually being able to talk about it in the way that they do. And I'll say it quietly, but if you go back to our second show that we ever did, it was nowhere near as professional as what they actually managed to put together on only their second.
They've taken everything we've done for the past 6 years and gone, we can do it better.
I know, and it's so nice because between can you hear that? I've got a helicopter just right overhead.
Yeah.
There you go. That doesn't happen every Wednesday, does it? But the rapport between the three of them is just such a lovely thing, and a real sign that for those people who are out, and I know that there's people that are following Josh and Morgan on Instagram and Facebook, the people that are out there this year, you come home and you will have new friends for life, and I think that's what Disney does. It brings people together so beautifully, and it really, there's something something quite magical about it. Anyway, I just take us a little bit off topic, but let's do the news, and then we'll welcome in whoever else is in the chat as well.
So the first news topic I think Claire shared yesterday was in the Waffle's arms. So this is the opening date for Test Track. So it's on 22nd of July. So just in time to get rid of the queues for when I arrive. Yes.
And then just in time for me to actually just go and single rider it and just sort of go and enjoy.
Yeah, there'll be cast member previews, Disney Vacation Club previews, pass holder previews as well. So that'll all be out all the way for general opening 22nd July. Do we think that'll become a virtual queue?
Oh,
you might have to get up at 7 a.m., John.
I might be. Oh no, I never thought of that, Ben. And
I haven't. But it just thought, queue.
There you go. I've jinxed it now, haven't I?
Because the last few rides that opened, when you think you had Ratatouille, Guardians, Tiana's BioAdventure, Tron, they've all had a virtual queue. Will this be the first one that doesn't need one?
I hope it doesn't, because actually I love going on Test Track, and I just love the fact that I know how to just sort of circumnavigate a long queue and just sort of sneak in. But again, it's maybe one of those where I hope that in the redesign of it, they've maybe made the single rider line a little bit more interactive and a little bit more inclusive in the queue, because I think what it had become is, certainly in the previous incarnation
it was so different. So you'd go to you either got the opportunity to design your car, or skip that bit entirely and you get a generic car.
And you basically, you didn't give a stuff about the design of the car. You just basically were trying to get on the ride as quickly as you possibly could.
I wonder whether they've taken that whole bit out and you don't have that bit of the queue anymore, where there's no designing. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what it's like. And I know we showed this picture last week, but I'm so excited to see what they've done. And it was only last summer, that they began construction on it. It was because I remember I think Morg was out there at the time, and he managed to ride it one more time.
Yeah, same with Josh. Josh was there as well, and it was only a few days ago. I think it might be last weekend it shut.
Yeah.
And Josh was saying, I can't believe how lucky we were to be actually out there and actually ride it. And then when we turned up, it's all shut, and the actual ambient sound of EPCOT is so different without the sound of Test Track in the background, and you never think about it. And I know the previous time it went down, I know we were out there, be about 2014, 15. We missed it then, but we missed it last year, and actually, it really does hit home when they started testing it, and you could, people were sharing online the sound of the cars going round, and just like, yes, that's exactly what we want to hear, and that's exactly what we really want, and what we're looking forward to when we get back to EPCOT.
And I'm looking forward to it because we're going to be at EPCOT. We've planned in a day for the extended evening hours, because the biggest thing for Test Track in the previous iteration was to not only do it during the day but also do it at night.
Yeah, it's another
you don't have to put your sunglasses on.
And another challenge for you as well is to do it in the rain. In the middle of the afternoon, it is. It's like having a hailstone coming straight at you. It's quite the thing. And then normally, what happens within about 5 minutes after that is to shut the ride, because actually it becomes one of them moments like, it's just like, there's thunder in the area. We need to shut the ride.
Yeah. So staying in the EPCOT area, Stormlong Bay and Hurricane Hannah's has reopened following a 5-month refurbishment. So I think Sam, might be in the stream today, and also I know Claire is staying at the beach club this summer. Yeah. So they'll be very happy that the pool is reopened for their trip.
I think probably quite relieved, because I think once you start looking at the fact that there's a hotel without a pool, and you're thinking that would be, and particularly at the Yacht and Beach Club, Stormlong Bay.
It's a reason for booking it. A lot of people book it.
Yeah, very
Yacht
much
and Beach Club for that pool. And I know there's a lot of construction happening all over property, especially the resorts. Talking to pools, there's a new pool coming to Fort Wilderness.
Oh yeah, I've read that as well.
There's a lot of things that Disney are doing, and unfortunately for some people there will be noise. I remember at Grand Floridian a couple of years ago, there was a lot of construction, and I know the lobby is still undergoing now with its additional bar that's being installed.
I think they're just going to take a big, massive hit on this. On the one summer where everyone goes up the road to a Universal, it's like, let's just get it all out of the way. Let's get it all set to one side, and we'll just accept the fact that we're going to get criticised, and we'll just run with it.
It's going to happen, isn't it? And it's stuff that's probably well overdue.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And I know we're staying at Polynesian this year, but there's going to be construction while we're there, because the Polynesian's finally undergoing its sort of the relaying out the car park. So at the front, and there's going to be a reasonable change from what it currently is. So we know about it. It probably won't impact us at all, but it's just one of those things. It's good to be aware of before you go. And the Contemporary Resort has had its refurbishment extended by a year into summer 2026.
Right.
So that also includes Bay Lake Tower and the bridge across between Bay Lake Tower and the Contemporary.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to know what the rest of that refurbishment is going to be, because it wasn't that long ago they changed the rooms into like the Incredibles theme.
Yeah, and that's a bit that intrigues me with this, because actually, is it something that they're deliberately looking at?
Yeah.
And it could be, I know in this country we've had an issue with different types of concrete within public buildings. I don't know if that goes across into America, but I know.
Is there something that they've discovered in the building process? That...
Maybe. I don't know. No. But it seems to be strange to actually extend it by a whole year. And that seems and it might well be a complete refresh and hopefully a big sort of renewal of the contemporary, because like it or not, this might be the first controversial thing I'll come out with tonight. It's the fact it seems very stuck in probably the early 80s sort of feel of the place, and it needs a kick up the backside in which to sort of reinvigorate itself to compete in the same ways as a top class resort hotel. And I think that, I wonder, I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but I think that for me is the one thing that's missing.
Yeah, and on positive news, Disney Cruise Line have reduced the required deposit and cancellation fees effective today.
Yeah.
So it's gone down from a 20% deposit to a 10% deposit.
I think that's fair enough.
And that's good. It's more competition. So it's one of those things that when you're booking a trip, especially like a Disney cruise, it's not particularly cheap, and you have to be a bit flexible, especially if you want to change. So knowing that you're not paying as much of a deposit, if your plans do change, you're not going to lose as much as you would have before.
I wonder as well if that's in line with, they've brought themselves back in line with the rest of the cruise market. And I'm not well up on the cruise line, or any cruise line, but I'm not sure what the deposits are across the board. But if you're charging a bigger deposit and you've got to change a plan and you're going to lose such a hefty amount, I wonder whether that puts people off from booking a Disney cruise as opposed to going with the other companies that are out there as well.
And if you've already booked, it doesn't change. It's only new bookings that it applies to.
Okay.
But which makes sense, which is fair.
Yeah, I like that. No, I'm good with that. Right, let's do the final bit of news, Ben, because actually we have got, I like this because this needs to be said in a Sam Eagle kind of voice, isn't it? It's like, Disney Celebrate America 4th of July fireworks.
This is like a 3-hour grand finale.
Yeah, and I actually, when I read this, it was basically just Sam Eagle that just sort of came to mind of the fact that let's celebrate all things America and all things Disney. And I won't. I might only have half a tongue, but I'll bite the part that I can actually feel. Because there's so much politically I could say.
Yeah.
And I won't go down that little rabbit hole. You can thank me later.
I like that they celebrate it over 2 days, so you do have the 3rd and the 4th of July to see the fireworks.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like when they do the perimeter fireworks around New Year. So they do it on New Year's Eve, and New Year's Eve.
Yeah, and it's just as good both nights. So if you're a little bit thinking that if you're going to be there on the 3rd of July, don't plan on leaving early. Make sure you go and see it, because you'll save yourself a lot of crowd and a lot of hassle on the 4th of July. And I think a
lot of people tend to do Magic Kingdom, say the 3rd of July, and then go 4th over to Epcot, or you could do vice versa.
Yeah.
They haven't announced anything specific for Epcot, but I know they usually do something slightly different to their usual fireworks show, whether it's additional few fireworks on the end. I know they used to do that with illuminations.
Yeah, I think it'd be, again, it's one of them things that they're being forced into actually putting these things out there, because people need to know what's available, and you can't just spring up upon people last minute anymore, because rather than making plans for a Disney trip, lots of people have got looking elsewhere. And I think that's a good thing for anyone in the UK. If you go in this summer, you're in for a treat, because theme parks are competing for your dollar, but also competing for your actual attendance in their parks is only a good thing for us.
Yeah. And do you think it's now time step into our main topic of today's show?
I think we're better, Ben, because actually,
we're 20 minutes in, and
we're going to run out of time. And actually, I think this could be quite contentious. So if you're in the chat, join in with this bit. And Ben's going to explain how we're going to do this, but join in, be part of the show, because actually that's what we love most of all on the Wednesday. It's not just about us yapping on or waffling on. It's about you guys actually being part of it. And again, like I say, it's always good when you see so many familiar faces that are in the chat. And I'll rattle through. We've got Heather was in first as well. We've got Heather, we've got Karen, we've got Wendy, we have B, and actually we know that there's people ninja watching because actually we know the numbers that are there. We know the people haven't been in the chat. So if you are ninja watching and you're not taking part, this is your chance. Be part of the show and actually tell us what your favorite parts of each of the parks are. So where are we going to start, Ben, and what is it that we're actually looking at?
I think what we're going to do, we're going to go through an overview, like a quick overview of each park. So who we think the park's aimed at, and then we can then dive deep into like our favorite attractions, and then we can look at sort of why we choose one park over another. Is there for like a 2-week trip, there are some days that we'll actually need to spend 3 or 4 days to do that park, but there are some parks where they've always been known as half-day parks, or you can do it in one day. So it'd be interesting to see what we think and also what the chat thinks.
Yeah.
How much time you should spend in each park.
And if we're doing a deep dive, let's not get Simon, because I think he mentioned it in the start of the month show, and we got away with deep diving. So it might not be best to mention that. And if you missed it, go back and listen to the start of the month show with Simon talking about deep diving, because it was hilarious.
And then hopefully once we've done all of this, we'll get to the end and we can actually rank and work out which one is our favourite park.
Oh goodness, I don't think I can do that.
It might be different, John. It's a bit like our carousel of questions.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it needs to go with your heart, and you'll probably want to change your answer tomorrow. But I honestly think that it's going to be a difficult one, and I like a challenge.
It's impossible, and that's why it's just me and you. We're going to be the ones who are contentious here, and everyone else has bailed on us tonight purely on the fact that they couldn't make a decision as to exactly how they would actually vote on this. Yeah, I'm gonna lose a lot of friends, I think.
So I think we should start off at the park that is probably a lot of people's reasons to go into Disney World.
Yeah.
And a lot is the most memorable things, like Disney World, you think castle, you think Magic Kingdom. So with this, there's quite a few rides at this park. I remember in the days where we used FastPass and you got 3 to choose a day, it was always the most difficult one to choose of what ones to choose. And when you use those 3, you could then go, oh, actually, we'll then go and choose another one afterwards.
Yeah.
So, John, what's your thought of Magic Kingdom? Because there are so many rides that I think drag a lot of people there. There's so many family attractions. So you've got.
I think it changes, Ben, and I think when you first go, Magic Kingdom is the most instant, and you get a massive sense of magic, and you get a massive sense of gratification as to we're here, and this place truly is. It irrespective of whatever else is going on in your family, it is the most magical place. The minute you actually, even if doesn't matter how you arrive, but the minute you walk into the park and it opens up in front of you, even watching other people's reaction, if it's their first time, it takes your breath away. If it's your 101st time, you still walk in and you still have that goosebump moment that it just never leaves you. And that's a bit that I struggle with probably any other theme park in the world that can make you feel the way that it does, as you just sort of, you come under the railway and it's there and it's in front of you, but as you walk further up Main Street, it just engages. And I think for me, I think that feeling, irrespective of the rides, and again, I'm not even thinking about the lands that are surrounding the hub. I'm thinking about that walking, how you feel. If you've been planning
the emotion
a holiday,
you get when you know you're home.
Yeah, but if you've been planning a holiday maybe for 5 years and going for the first ever time to Walt Disney World, that feeling as you walk in, I don't think you get that, but you don't get that buzz when you turn up in a nice little 5-star all-inclusive in the middle of Corfu or anything like that.
No. I remember one of the first times we walked into Magic Kingdom. It was as we're walking. It's in the morning. You had the welcome show, train station, and it felt like all the planning and everything you put together just felt like, okay, now this is the beginning of my trip. It took us a few years to realise that actually Magic Kingdom should be one of the parks we do on our first day.
Yeah, no, we always do it first day. It's something really for us that as you walk in, it really reminds you of why you've made so many sacrifices, either during the year or certainly for us last year for the first, for 5 years we hadn't been, and it's one of the things you have to experience it to actually understand it, to actually understand the fact that when you come out of there for the very last time on a trip, and I always describe it in the same way, and it is like in your throat you've got a lump the size of a golf ball, and you just don't want that moment where you exit through the tunnel towards whatever transportation you go into. You don't want to lose sight of your whole holiday, and it really, for years and years, it's always reduced me to an absolute wreck. And you try to be really strong in front of, certainly when the kids were younger, and you know that they were wobbly, and you knew fine well it could be the last chance we get to go and things. And as you're walking out, I'll be strong for the kids. I'll be strong for the kids. And
you're a blubbering mess.
Yeah. And it's horrible. And actually, even last year, the kids are now older, and it had a completely different feel, because actually we all felt the same. And I think as we exited, it was a case that nobody said anything. Nobody said a word. And what we've done in the past, we always do the same. We get to the exit, and we always race up the steps of the railway station, just have one last photo looking back up Main Street. And that's just the way it's always been. But I just feel it's just like it remains in your heart. And when you're not there and you're not able to go, that is the scene. And that particular area and the sounds that are in that area are the ones that stay with you. And they stay with you, and they give you a little bit of inner strength.
So Magic Kingdom is what we would probably call the park where you get the most emotion, the most feels, the most sort of memories. Every time you think back to Walt Disney World, you just instantly think of Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I remember that first day after COVID, going back in and just seeing this place we hadn't seen, which felt like such a long time.
I remember the live show that we did, and you guys walking in there, and actually, I think from all the hours of stuff that we've ever put out, that was the one that when you just sort of you walked in it, and it was flag drop as well, and we were just like, this was just perfect. This was just the moment that everybody needed to watch, and it was. And again, I think you even said at the time, it's just pure luck. It wasn't deliberate attempt, but that's what, as a
thought
park,
about it. But
but as a park, that's where that whole thing of just taking your time and letting the magic come to you really comes to complete fruition. Because what you tend to notice more is, if you are taking your time, you see other people's reactions, and you see other people's just emotion. And I think that for me is a bit that can't be replicated, I don't think, like I said, in any other theme park whatsoever.
And the thing is, what changed Magic Kingdom for me when we did Keys to the Kingdom tour, it made me think like I knew Magic Kingdom completely, thought I knew everything, and then you do Keys to the Kingdom and you find out so much more about how the park was built. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you haven't had a chance to do Keys to the Kingdom and you're a Disney fan, do it for your next trip. I think it's one of the best value tours that Disney offer.
It is, Ben, and again, this is great because you just everything links back to what we did last year. But again, because the kids previously had been too young, we'd never done it as a complete family, and to be able to do it as a family and to experience that inner part of it was very, very special. because I'd done it years ago, and actually when the kids were too young, and I was very fortunate that my wife was very kind to take the kids and just go and explore the park for the 4 hours that I was basically.
Oh, wow.
I was just embraced within Keys to the Kingdom tour, and what was nice last year was the fact that it was a little bit different in places, but it was different and it was better, and that for me really made it, and I think for them it kind of summed up some of the things I've tried to share for so many years, and actually just really the detail that's there, if only you look that little bit more at it. And especially some of the windows on Main Street, I've got to say that for me is just a special part of it.
We should quickly jump on the monorail and talk about EPCOT, because as you know, John, from when we first started the show, EPCOT was not one of my favorite parks. And it has definitely changed, grown on me over the years, and there's been a lot of construction since we started the show as well, and a lot of things have changed at EPCOT. And my original thought was, when a few years ago, was that EPCOT was a couple of good attractions. I love Test Track, enjoyed Soarin', but now you've got Guardians of the Galaxy. It definitely went higher in my estimations. And then when you add things like traditional ones like Spaceship Earth, and I can't go to EPCOT without going on Spaceship Earth. It doesn't feel right. There's just something about it. And to me, EPCOT feels like it's that grown-up park.
Yeah.
I think it's matured over the years.
I'm gonna reverse that on you.
Yeah.
Is it EPCOT that's matured, or is it you?
See, it's
and
probably
I wonder
we've
if
changed from.
Yeah. And that's the bit that when we were planning and doing this show, that was the bit in my own mind. I've got a massive love for EPCOT.
Yeah.
But it's the type of place that if you're a once and done person, you won't get it. You don't understand it. It takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of effort, if I'm being really honest with you, because actually, if you just walk about, and certainly the first time we went, there was like Body Wars are still open, and there was loads of stuff, but it was getting to be a bit. Some of it was getting a bit tired.
And it was like it was just an exhibition of various different things. It's like interventions. And it's like, I wasn't sure what this was. We walked in through various places that then become character meeting.
Well, by the time you were going for the first time, it really was at death's door. I must admit, and it was in desperate need of some TLC. But I'm going back probably in 10 years. In fact, probably more than 10 years. But I'll gloss over that. But even at that time, it was like a little bit frayed around the edges. It was in need of some love, and it wasn't forthcoming for a long time. And I think that for me is where you really had to make the effort and actually understand that it's beyond educational, and then go into the cultural part of it when you go into World Showcase. And that for me, World Showcase was the bit that really stood out for me. And the original parade that was there.
I still, every time you mention a parade at EPCOT, I go like, wow, it wouldn't have made any sense.
No, it was brilliant. No, it was at Festival of Fantasy Parade. No, it wasn't. It was
Festival of Nations.
Yeah, Tapestry
of Nations.
It was just absolutely incredible to see, and just to actually be able to be there whilst this parade goes in front of you. And going back now, you can't even begin to imagine that they have parade floats in the space with a crowd, with crowds on the sort of the pavilion side, and then the parade floats. It must have been a logistical nightmare every single day, as they were putting tape down and telling kids, keep your feet
stand here.
Don't put it in front there, because there's going to be a parade float that'll run over your foot. But once you get it, and I think again, if you, even as an adult, and you go for the first few times, you probably won't get it.
Yeah.
Once you take a little bit more time, but you start exploring, and you actually begin to look at a little bit of the history and how certain parts of it have evolved. If you look at where Guardians, Guardians now stands on the plot where Ellen's nightmare of an aircon ride used to be. It was just like, it's a massive plus area.
Yeah.
You go into each of the, even in its current state, Journey into Imagination is just worthy of going into, because it offers something a little bit different and a little bit more educational, a little bit more interactive, and really, again, it becomes part and parcel of, you
Will that
walk
be the
out.
next bit, do you think, now Test Track, when it opens, if Disney needs to do anything in Epcot, it'll be Figment?
It's been needing doing for years, Ben. And I think, I think, God, we go back to the very start, the very first D23 that we listened to. And I think we did like a mini podcast on it in September 2019.
Yeah.
And we've talked at that point, they announced that they were going to redo Spaceship Earth. They were going to change the narrator. And actually, because of what came after that, all of that's been pushed way, way, way to the back.
Yeah.
We had the Mary Poppins ride within the UK pavilion that gets cancelled. I feel that there's still potential within Epcot, and again, going back to the start of the month podcasts up until our anniversary show, where we've been going into each of the pavilions. What it's done is it's actually given me a little sense of, I want to go back and go and just explore the detail that little bit more in each pavilion. I think I'm not that. I probably am as guilty as anybody. When you're on holiday, you've got your phone, you're looking at wait times for different rides, and yet you're missing things that are clear and obvious right in front of your eyes that add to the detail. And I think that's
Epcot is one of those ones where Magic Kingdom, the detail is a little bit more obvious, but you can still dig to find more detail. With Epcot, it takes a little bit of work to actually understand. It's not as easily there for everyone to quickly grasp.
Yeah. And just a quick mention as well. I think Karen in the chat had mentioned about the Living Seas and also, which then became Nemo, but also Horizons as well. And I think, it wouldn't be right to actually not mention Horizons, because I think if you're a fan of Epcot, Horizons becomes like the one thing that you really sort of hanker after them bringing back and maybe doing something more with it. It was very special. There's some very, very good video on YouTube that you can, after the show, go and dig into it and just turn back the clock a little bit and enjoy.
So we're going to take a walk outside out of Epcot and take the walk, shall we, to Hollywood Studios, because it originally was MGM Studios.
It still is. It still is for some of us.
It's not for me. No, it's always Hollywood Studios. Our first trip was 2013, and for me, it was our first ever Disney World trip.
Yeah.
So it was the first park we went on, our first or second day of our holiday, and it was something that there was so much there that at the time that probably isn't there anymore, but it will always give that memory of being one of my favorite parks just because of the memories it holds. So no matter, probably on my list, I always put Hollywood Studios up higher than everyone else, but there's so many thrilling attractions there. When you think of Galaxy's Edge, Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, and we're going to miss the Muppets, which are now going to be going to Rock and Roller Coaster. That's going to be very interesting in how that park over the years has always changed. It's been gone from a half-day park with lots of construction. It's been turned as quite a lot. I remember there was quite a few years where there wasn't that much open. There was, if you took out all the shows, there wasn't many attractions left to do.
It was more show based as well, and I think
Yeah.
that originally for me was a slow moving day. When you went to MGM, you knew you were just going to. It was going to be slow, and it was just going to be, yeah, we'll do the backlot tour,
Yeah.
we'll do the different shows that are on the go, but it never really sort of. It didn't light a spark, and then when they put Rock and Roller in and they put Tower of Terror in, that is like, okay, right, now you're serious about this being, you know, a park that's not just a half day and done. The one for me was when they put Toy Story Mania in, because
Yes.
when that actually happened, I think everybody actually, you know, I think at the time it was the first new ride that had gone in probably many parks for quite a while. It just seemed to spark everyone, and it was always good fun trying to be the first one to get to the fast pass, the old paper fast pass booth, and getting your fast passes for that ride, because that in itself it should have been deemed as an Olympic sport at the time.
I absolutely loved just getting the fast pass, and you didn't have that long to wait, or you knew what time to come back later in the day for it. And I have to admit, we waited 90 minutes for it in sort of middle of June because it was so hot outside. We needed air conditioning, and it was worth the wait. We're quite competitive, and absolutely love that ride. And I'm so glad that it's changed. They've added additional track.
Yeah, and that actually for me was that for me really changed exactly how that ride was rather than it being difficult to get onto if you didn't have a fast pass, it then dealt with the capacity issues, and I think that was a real massive stroke as well. I think the other thing to remember as well is some of these shows and some of these rides ate up massive amount of people, and like Great Movie Ride in particular, you know, was just like you would have hundreds of people within that ride, and then hundreds in the queue, and yet it would take up so much a bigger part of the theme park day that it didn't become noticeable. And you know, part of me, I still miss the Great Movie Ride. I'm openly admitting to that. However, what I do like is the fact that everything's moved on, and the actual transition of that park, even from the parking area, and how they realigned that to make it a much better experience to drive into, has actually added so much into it. I'm just trying to check a little bit. Only basically because Karen's mentioned as well. You know, it's all about Disney animation, but also the little nods to Robin Williams. I was watching a film the other night, and you forget the genius that is Robin Williams. If you go back into Epcot, if you go into Journey into Imagination, it's still the thing. I will take a photo out each and every year of the fact that Robin Williams' picture is on the wall. Every little nod towards what Robin Williams did, not for Disney in a sense, but for Touchstone Pictures, which was Disney owned. Some of his greatest work was within that sort of that 1980s period of time, and the fact that he's still remembered within so much, and also in so many, as the voice of so many different people. I just think it's so beautiful that still missed. I miss his genius, and I miss his comedic qualities as well. But going back to MGM Studios, but there was so much there, and this is a bit you forget in the depths of time. You know, you had the set from the Golden Girls, you had all the
Streets of America,
but the costuming area, but then as well, and I think Wendy's mentioned it in the chat as well, the Osborne lights in the various incarnation. The Osborne lights is something that if anyone was to require a little reminder of just how magical a Disney Christmas can be. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, there's still
We only got to
songs.
see it once.
Yeah.
It was
That's
on
all,
the
Ben.
last year,
But it's
but
all
it blew me away.
it
It
stays
was
with
like,
you.
yeah,
There's still songs that we have on the Christmas playlist
Yep.
that come from that show, and some of them are not particularly Christmassy, you know. And it's just like, you know, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and you just like, you listen to it. And
we bought special Christmas tree lights so
Yeah.
we could replicate it at home with the
It's
music, so
brilliant.
you can sync the music to the lights. And it was just because of it reminds us of the Osborne lights.
Yeah. And it's that bit where you actually understood how they had to change it.
Yep.
And
I can see why, because what has become of it, and I totally understand, because I'm not sure. On one hand, would I prefer them to have kept Streets of America, and we wouldn't have had Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge the way we've got them now.
Yeah.
It's always that thought of, and I know over the past few shows we've spoken about Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom are going through lots of changes, and it's always that thing of like, oh, it's going to change, things are going to be different. What's it going to be like on your next trip? And that's the thing. I'm just so glad that we have these memories of what has gone past, and we get to just embrace and see what's new.
Yeah, and also, you know, every time we start down this, I'm always reminded that, you know, some of the parades they had at MGM, there was stars in there, Disney stars in their cars. Yeah, and you had like Burn the Big Blue House in their own car with Tutter on the bonnet and things. It was just beautifully done, and just a wonderful nod towards some of the traditional Disney filmmaking. And I know Heather said as well, you know, wishing that the studios were still a working studio. But I think in a way, the way people make films now and people make TV now is so different than it was when that park was actually. I actually felt it was more than just a whole day park. I felt it offered so much. But what they've done is, I think they've got the balance right, and I think what they've actually managed to do is actually get the thrill-seeking rides for old people like me, but also they've managed to match that by putting Toy Story Land in for younger people and actually making it up to date and relevant for kids. And I think that was a bit that I probably, if you took young kids to the old MGM, I think they would have been bored, absolutely silly.
The only thing they probably done was Toy Story Mania.
Yeah, but
it's one of those. It's really difficult to think about what. It's less of a family park, where I think more now with Toy Story Land, especially with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yeah, I think so, Ben. I think the balance is much fairer, and I think the balance is there too.
And I agree with B. I do miss the giant Sorcerer Mickey hat.
I do as well. You know,
we can say it because Claire's not here.
Yeah, but the thing that gets me though is for all the hate it received.
Yeah.
You know, I think when we talked about park icons a few weeks ago, it was the one thing that you actually associated purely with Disney animation, and it was the right icon for the park, and I still don't feel it's been replaced properly with the fact that they try to use Tower of Terror, but they don't have a whole lot of love for Tower of Terror in a way, because most of them, they want to relay into, you know, the Guardians mismatch that they've got in Disneyland. You know, if you're going to have something as a park icon, give it all the love and give it, you know, even the Eiffel Tower that they had with the water tower with Mickey ears on, that was a cracking icon. But how cheap would that be to just put that into the park and actually use that? And just, you know, it's not difficult.
No,
I don't get it.
I think we should go to the last Disney park actually and talk about Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, I was just going to say hello to John Self, who's joined us as well. So a big thank you. And also mentioned the fact that he actually grew up in Little Rock, where the Osborne lights actually originated from.
Oh, wow.
With the original the Osborne family. And I think it's also worth noting as well, it's nothing to do with Ozzy Osbourne. Right, I'll put it out there because there's so many people that I met, and it's just like I never, and because as it Sharon Osbourne became such a big reality TV person, and I was there one time, and someone was having the conversation trying to explain to their kids that this guy used to be in a band, and his wife's on the TV, and I turned around and said, "Look, I'm really sorry, but like, just it isn't that guy. It wasn't his Christmas Lights. It was another guy." So I was just, I always think of that as well. And just before we do move on, let's have a little bit of love for one of the best nighttime attractions that is in any of the parks, and that is Fantasmic. Because actually, it doesn't. I still don't think it gets the credit for just how brilliant a show it is, and also how scary it can actually be if you're a young kid. It does take a little bit of getting used to, and a little bit.
And if you get the opportunity to go about half an hour before and just sit there and enjoy the pre-show music, because it is incredible.
And the Mexican wave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's holding drinks and things and trying to do the Mexican wave at the same time.
Yeah, that pre-show music is actually available on iTunes.
Yep.
And I might try and put it in the Waffler's arm so you can find it, but it's just all them really rocked up Disney songs, and then you're sitting there, you're trying not to spill your ice cream or your popcorn, and then everyone's doing the Mexican way from one side to the other. Quality way,
brilliant atmosphere.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's just absolutely superb.
So Animal Kingdom, there's not as many attractions at Animal Kingdom as other parks, but it does have a few standouts with Everest and Flight of Passage. And it's a very different sort of thought of a theme park.
Yeah. See, I love Animal Kingdom, and I think it's got better over time. And I liked it in the first instance. But I know when it first opened, people were like, "Oh, it's only a half day. You'll see it, and that's it." But actually, again, it's another place that the longer you spend in it, the more you become either a little bit nosier, or you become far more engaged and start doing some of the walking trails and things like that. And you begin to understand actually there's a whole lot more to this park than actually anyone gives it credit for. Karen, I totally agree with you. It needs effort, and I think that again goes back to what we said about EPCOT. The instantaneous sort of this is what you see and this is what you get isn't there. You have to go and seek it out, and I think purely in Animal Kingdom's road, it's more down the line of how Joe Rohde actually designed this, because everything's deliberately kind of hidden, and just you have to seek it out. It isn't just in your face, and that was, again, go back and check out our Joe Rohde show that we did.
It goes from like the queue lines to just the way the park's laid out. There's so many different things that actually you could be staring at and actually completely miss.
Yeah.
How many times I've looked at the tree and gone, "Oh, there's even more animals there than I remember last time. I don't remember seeing this part that was in this queue." There's so many different things, and that goes for everything, especially into Pandora as well.
Yeah.
And I think that expansion did an awful lot for Animal Kingdom. It's a shame that it closes earlier than the other parks. I'd love it to stay open a couple of hours later, especially during the summer, so that it does get dark and you get the bioluminescence, because that is an incredible feeling walking through Pandora.
But just that whole land, Ben.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people in the chat who actually remember walking into Animal Kingdom, and when you went left, and it was like where the old Festival of Lion King show pavilion was, and then you had like 4 little huts with character meet and greets. Yeah, okay. At the time, it was good. We had some really good character meet and greets, because if you went in between, if you went during a showtime to that Festival of Lion King, there was no queue, so the kids got some cracking interaction. I think there's one when I think our Joe, it'd be about 4 or 5, and Baloo the bear was just tickling, and he ended up lying on the floor being tickled. And it was just like, it's one of the moments that you're just like, you'll never ever forget, and he doesn't forget it. And you're just like, yeah, but that was just a character trying to make use of their time and actually add a bit of fun into their day and into ours. And then when that all went, you're thinking, as anyone does, I think you mentioned it about what the changes coming to Magic Kingdom. You're always that little bit of intrepidation of, well, it won't be the same and things like that. But my word, Pandora basically has redefined what Animal Kingdom is all about.
Yeah. And I think it's a bit like what we've said before about Universal, that they had the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and Pandora was their answer to it. And a quick mention of Universal, actually, before we say, it's 15 years ago today, the opening of Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good grief.
18th of June.
That makes me feel a bit old.
That's amazing to think.
I'm sure we went that summer as well. I need to dig out my notes. I'll find out.
You weren't in the queue then, John.
No, not on that
I remember
day.
seeing pictures of how. Yeah,
that was incredible, and and again, this is why we should be very mindful of the competition that exists between Universal and Disney, because what does happen is each side actually raises its game.
Yep.
And they're looking to be the dominant one within the area, but they're also looking to actually bring in a lot of money and a lot of custom. And we're the ones that should be the ones who are advantaged by that.
Yeah. Actually, at the end of the day, it just means that we're going to get more theme parks, more attractions, higher quality. If Universal's raising the bar, then Disney has the opportunity to do the same. Yeah,
and I think it'd be remiss of us to mention the fact that when Animal Kingdom first opened, it didn't open with Everest in it, and they recognised that it needed something as a thrill ride, as someone to draw people in. And if you ever want a queue line to go and look at detail, Everest is one of the greatest ones. And then when they opened Flight of Passage, I know I said this previously, but the queue line of Flight of Passage is worth a 2-hour wait just to make you actually look at the detail in it, because it's brilliant. It really is.
So I think we've covered all the parks. I think we should do out of all the ones we've spoken about, which one has the best thrill rides?
Oh,
for me, I'm going to probably say Hollywood Studios. I just instantly go to Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, I would tend to agree purely on the Tower of Terror one, and actually, for me, Tower of Terror is my favourite ride in the whole of Walt Disney World. Still, nothing can come close to it. It ticks every single box, and it's different, and it's just so much. I just love that. So I would say for thrill rides, Studios.
Okay, best for families. So focus on variety, height requirements, and re-rideability.
It has to be Magic Kingdom.
Yeah,
and also
there's so many attractions that a lot of people will miss because they don't require. There's no height requirement. There's things like People Mover, Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
a lot of those that you can ride multiple times. Feel like you're getting a different, not just different experience, but there's so many different things. There's some different attractions at Magic Kingdom, from shows to.
I think as well, when you've got younger kids, that disappointment that you're maybe not quite tall enough to go on a certain ride. I'm thinking about Space Mountain in particular. When our Josh was big enough to go on it, and Joe wasn't. It was Joe and I would go and just ride the People Mover as many times as we want, and actually made that an enjoyable experience. Yeah. But then he got a little bit of payback because we then were able to go on to some of the more accessible ones for younger children. And that the balance is a much better one in that park than possibly in some of the others.
Okay. The next one's a difficult one. best themed experiences. So immersion, storytelling, and queue design.
Oh dear me, I can't choose on that one.
I think there's multiple parks. My instinct with this one goes to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Queue design for Everest.
Yeah. Okay.
And Pandora.
And Pandora. Yeah. Okay. We said that. And
You're sort of immersed in.
Yeah.
It just feels so different to an actual theme park than what a regular theme park and what the other parks offer.
Yeah. The other thing as well, and I would again flag up our trip around EPCOT and World Showcase, because irrespective of the fact that, to actually theme something within a ride, I think it's quite easy, but to actually theme something and not be culturally inappropriate, I think in this day and age is rather quite a tricky place to be. But to actually get that balance between adding a bit of history, a bit of education, and also just a bit of a nod towards some of the traditions of each country. I think World Showcase for me actually has that immersion and storytelling part of it. But I would still say, I think Everest and Flight of Passage have definitely got the queue design.
Yeah. Okay, and the last category is underrated attractions. So which one has the most hidden gems? Oh, that's difficult.
Do you know something? I would probably go with Animal Kingdom for that, because there's loads of stuff there that are cracking.
It's just not obvious,
and nobody knows they're there. Yeah. And even the train that you get across the conservation station.
Yeah.
Some people just have that. It's just a little train ride. We won't bother with that. But actually, when you get to the other side and you've got the animation part of it, I actually feel that is such a, people just don't know it's there. And then you come off and you've got the jungle trek that people just, oh no, we've got a fast pass or such. Let's go there. Yeah. And actually, just take your time, go and explore what the place is about. And
every time we do the safari now, we can't get off it without then going straight to Gorilla Falls.
Yeah.
And then depends on the time. It's like it's in the morning, so actually let's go to the Maharaja Jungle Trek and then see what the queue for Kali is. It's those sort of, yes, you do an attraction, but actually the attraction itself is those hidden areas that you just think, oh, it's a walkthrough, I don't need to go and do that. But actually, it's those times that you actually spend together as a family that you notice different things that you just don't realize. It's so easy to go to an attraction and go, my favorite attraction is this. It's those little hidden gems that you don't. And for me, there's a hidden gem in EPCOT that I think goes unnoticed by quite a few people, and it's the Moana Journey of Water.
Oh, I loved that last year.
And I know I feel like when it was announced and everyone was talking about this belongs in the wrong park, this should be in Animal Kingdom, but I was just in awe by it. Walking through the music, the education, the side of everything the technology they've used as well in there.
Yeah.
I think it isn't easy to maintain or develop. So I just think what they've done is incredible.
That's a cracking one. And also, Ben, I think what's really important to, going back to what I said earlier in the show about the original incarnation of EPCOT, with that educational part of it, if you go and look at the different levels of Moana's Journey of Water, if you are in a push chair, you are seeing a different level of detail, but on a younger child basis at a low level. And then as an adult, you look at a high level and your eye line is seeing something completely different, a little bit more grown up. And if you maybe in between the two, you've got that different thing as well. Whoever designed it, it's just like has really nailed old EPCOT, new EPCOT, and actually engaged the rest. Shame they didn't put them in charge of the of maybe putting a nice big fountain right in the middle of the park.
I thought that was a good idea. Okay, so John, now it's
no, I can't.
It's our turn.
I can't do this, Ben. I find this really difficult.
It depends on the day as well.
Yeah,
I have to admit, but From all the trips that I've been, I always used to put Hollywood Studios first because it was the one that was always my memory. But I have to admit, the most recent trip, for me, EPCOT is my number one park, which I would never have said back in 2013 on our first trip. I didn't get EPCOT at the time, and it probably wasn't until I started doing the show and learned more about it and had a chance to experience EPCOT more that's probably my favourite park, closely followed by Hollywood Studios. And it's really difficult to rank, but it depends on the day. And it's been a couple of years since we've done all 4 parks on one trip.
Yeah.
Well, last year we only had the chance to do one day at EPCOT. So
and
this summer,
you guys have kind of gone on kind of shorter trips as well, haven't you? So
yeah,
that becomes a little bit more problematic in actually making sure that you actually get something else in there. I think
we did a 7-day over Christmas once, and it was like, okay, we were waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning, going to bed at midnight, like 7 days in a row to try and fit in all the parks. So you get a different sort of thing, and you don't have the time to pause and let the magic come to you. So for me, it is difficult. I have favourites for different reasons, but I don't think there'll ever be a consensus amongst us.
No, I even as you're talking now, I was going to agree with you and say that EPCOT would be my number one.
Yeah.
But having done Keys to the Kingdom again last year, Magic Kingdom's still right up there because it's still got that little bit of quality of Walt all about it, and it just that I find this really difficult to actually, I think it was Karen who mentioned it very early in the show in the chat. It's like choosing your favorite child, and it becomes really difficult. So I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna have an equal first of EPCOT and Magic Kingdom.
I thought you were gonna go all 4.
No, I think Magic Kingdom and EPCOT stand above, but I then can't choose between the studios and Animal Kingdom either. And I think
it's difficult, and I think we know the process of what's happening at both of those parks and what's changing, and I'm trying to not let that influence my decision.
Yeah.
But I would probably put my experience at Hollywood Studios ever so slightly above Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
But only slight. And that would probably have been before I rode Everest. And now Everest is one of my favourite roller coasters. So there's always a part in the park and I think Wendy said it, my favourite parks don't seem to change, but the ride attractions on the other hand do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always times where actually I think EPCOT really raised in my sort of estimations when Guardians opened.
Yeah.
And we were going on, and it was one of the big changes. And then the rest of the construction at EPCOT finished, and now we're Test Track reopening this summer. It's big Magic Kingdom for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I can understand that, and actually, I think ride wise, I think EPCOT's got not just the shows and not just the little bits of magic.
Yeah.
But I can't take the Walt part out of Magic Kingdom that I really sort of yearn for. And then the other side as well is actually, when you look at the other two, you look at the studios and you look at Animal Kingdom, you can't actually separate them out of the mix because they offer you a completely different experience. And I think this for me is such an important bit about why we end up going to Orlando as often as we do, because I could go on Towers, I could go to Flamingo Land, I could go to whatever theme park in the UK. You do not have that level of detailing and theming and just taking you into, you go to the UK theme park and it's basically there's one ride, there's another ride, and there's no joined up thinking whatsoever. It just doesn't work like that over here, and yet you just become embraced by the whole magic of what each of those parks do, and they're all different. They all have just different bits that get to you. So that's me sitting on the fence completely there.
Yep.
I must admit, and I'd be interested. I think nobody really in the chat has actually jumped in and put a top 4 there, because I don't feel that. I don't feel that you can. And I think one of the things to bear in mind, if you're listening to this either on the podcast on Friday or you're watching us on the catch up in YouTube, your own favorite, if you've never been before, you're going to have to go and find your favorite, and that's the key part to it. Second one, your favorite will change. Don't be surprised by that, because it will, like Ben's found. But the third bit as well is, don't close yourself off to the fact that some people might say, "Oh, I've been to Animal Kingdom, I've been to the studios, I've been to EPCOT, I didn't like it very much." Don't put it on your list. Go and explore these parks, because actually there's so much to see, and so many people come away from them having supposedly been on holiday there, and actually you'll turn around and ask them, "Oh, did you see such and such? Oh, where was that?" And it's just like, and they've missed it, because they just either didn't have time, or they were too busy trying to ride the main thrill rides and just didn't get the immersive other stuff that's there as well. And I think
it's so easy to miss everything else when
too right.
When you've got a particular big attraction that you're focused on.
Yeah.
Especially at EPCOT, you're like, okay, it used to be you get your boarding group, and then it's like, that's my main focus, and you didn't think of anything else you're planning for that day, because that's your one ride. Sometimes people will do that and then go like, well, let's pop to another park, but haven't done EPCOT or haven't done that park in that particular way.
Yeah. And that's a fun thing. And I do realise that, as someone who's had the great fortune of actually being out on holiday a number of times to these parks, that's taken quite a while to get to that stage. And I think when you go in, it's your first time, it can be overawing, and it can be, in a way, you kind of get lost within the plan, and you get lost within the must-do stuff that you don't probably see half of what you could see, because everyone's either trying to make, "Oh, we need to do this, we have to do this, I want to do this," and yet it's there, and it's what pulls you back, and that's a strange thing, that actually when you come away and you're like, "Oh, I'll need to go back because I didn't do that," and I think
it's always an excuse to go back. It's like, oh, Test Track's opening. How many people are going to book the extra trip, or just go for another day and go like, okay, EPCOT's now more of my must-do this trip because Test Track's open.
Yeah.
How many people are going back this year because Epic Universe is opening? We always have that reason for dragging us back and booking an extra trip. I have to admit, going to an all-inclusive in Europe doesn't have the same appeal.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't have the same pullback that you must go back. But I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. It's been a great show, very controversial, a lot of discussion over favourite parks. And I want to say thanks to everyone who's recently joined us on Instagram. We currently are running a little giveaway. So there is a GBMW hat that you can win. All you have to do is go onto our Instagram. On the first post, there's the instructions of what to do. All you've got to do is share it to your stories, and tag 3 people. And this time next week, we will be doing the live reveal. So whoever has won will be announced live on next week's show, which next Wednesday actually coincides with 6 years to the episode release of the Great British Mickey Waffle. We launched on the
Oh dear, I might need to dig out my birthday hat then, mightn't I? That's it.
I wonder what do you know what? I can't remember what we're talking about next week. So actually, I think what we should do is we should open that up to the chat. So actually, come and let us know in the chat what you'd like us to talk about next week.
I thought we had a really good topic for next week as well.
Do you know what? I can't remember what it is.
Can't you? I can't off the top of my head, but it was good.
Is it how long should your Orlando trip be?
Yes. That's it. Exactly.
That's the one.
From someone who's been on a 5-week trip to Orlando.
I was going to say, how many days did you spend in the parks? And I'm looking forward to that topic now.
Yeah. And it was, but if you want anything else that you want us to chat about, tell us, get in the Waffler's arms, let us know. Because actually, we love you guys being part of the chat, and I'm just putting it on the YouTube feed now as well, because actually we really appreciate people live watching, and we appreciate that some people can't, because we know you're at work and we know that you can't participate. But we know,
and I know there's other things still on a Wednesday evening. There's a lot of TV and lots of sport and lots of things that happen. But for those that are watching, don't forget that you can go to our website, gbmickeywaffle.com. If you're watching on YouTube, you've also got a QR code on your screen. If you scan that, that takes us to everything we do. So that's all of our socials, all of our podcasts, including links to our podcast feed, which you'll see the latest episode from the Great British Mickey Waffle Jr.
It's a good listen, that.
It is indeed.
So I'd also add as well, Ben, Josh actually put a load of photos in the Waffler's Arms that link back to the podcast as well. And actually, it adds so much more detail into it. Yeah. And, a massive thank you, because actually some of the things he spoke about, I think it might have been Wendy that had put as a reply, as the fact his purchase of mac and cheese and Gatorade is his first his first trip to the supermarket has got to be, that's him sorted,
it's the first trip to Walmart, isn't it? Once you're there.
Yeah, Kraft mac and cheese, and again that comes from a song. We've got to eat more Kraft dinner, which is a Bare Naked Ladies song.
Yes.
If I had $1 million, I'd be rich. There we go.
And I'd probably be in Disney a lot more.
Absolutely, yeah. We could maybe stay that bit longer if we go for next week's show as well. So that'd be even better.
Yeah. So for those watching on YouTube, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed today's show. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you never miss the show. So you can also catch our podcast episodes, which are out on the 1st and 15th of every month. And if you are listening on the podcast, thank you for catching up with us on the replay. If you'd like to leave us a review and a rating as well, would be much appreciated. So we'd love to hear your Disney Park rankings in the comments. So we'll be back next week with John trying to explain why we should all go to Orlando for 5 weeks.
And it's got a twist at the end as well. Yeah, I'll keep that for next week, because it's a really good story.
So until next week, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you real soon.
Now my wheels in motion and my